Hi, I'm Lisa Singer. I am the Senior Director of Event Programming at MediaPost, and this is Brand Insider BTS, where I get to pull back the curtain on some of the most influential women marketers today. With me is Jordana Barish, and she is the Vice President of Allegra North America at Sanofi. Hey, how are you, Jordana?
I am well, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, no, I mean, we just were together in the Poconos, which I love that. You were awesome there. Incredible presentation. So I'm glad we're able to now, we have the business side of you, although we did have some fun too. We all did at the events, but now find out a little bit more about you and how you got to where you are today. So I'm glad we're able to do this.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and that was a wonderful event last week, and I'm still a little bit sore from the treetop adventure course, I will say, but it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. I know I wish I could have made that one, but I had to work. So here for the fun, I had to work.
It was well worth it. Well worth it.
I'm glad. All right. Well, I want to start off with, I like to look to see things about you and what's going on. And obviously, Allegra, everyone knows Allegra, although I know you want more people to know about it. But I look at taglines sometimes. So one of ta Allegra's taglines is, what is live your greatness? So what I'm curious about for you, and has nothing to do with Allegra as much as we love Allegra, but you yourself, what does that mean to you? What does living your greatness mean?
Yeah, thank you for that question because I think it really is a very individual statement, and it really is. Um, I think of it as being your authentic self and doing what fulfills you and really makes you happy as an individual. So for me, I mean, there's a lot of different things that bring fulfillment and make me happy. But I think one of the things that comes to mind is continuous learning. I have sort of an insatiable quest for learning and new experiences. And that really fulfills me because I feel like I'm growing every day. So, at the beginning of the year, I don't make New Year's resolutions, it's more like goals. Resolutions kind of has like a negative connotation in my mind, but goals is something that you can strive for. And it always includes something I want to learn, something I want to experience. So for example, this year, I wanted to learn Pilates reformer. Personally, you do. So I've started a couple of months ago.
Yes.
Exactly, on the machine. And it's very difficult and very challenging, but a good challenge. And pickleball. So I've actually got my first pickleball lesson coming up this weekend, which I'm very excited about. But that's just on a personal level and professionally as well. I love challenging myself with new projects, new ways of doing things, going to events and learning from other people in the industry. I think that's what it's about for me, and what fulfills me.
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome. And mine would be yoga. Like I said, I've been doing Pilates, but the yoga I'm just horrible at. So I should do that. I like that you don't make it as a resolution. I do think that we tend to, like you said, it's almost like we're doing something wrong. We need to do this instead. And so I like that as you set it up as a goal. Well, all right. So sticking with taglines for Allegra, another one is don't let allergies hold you back. Okay. So not talking about allergies, but has there been something in your life that maybe held you back, whether it be an internal thing or an external something, but just something that you had to overcome?
Sure. I mean, I think everyone has challenges, right? And that's part of what makes us who we are and how we rise to those challenges. One of the most formative ones for me was actually growing up. I Most people are very surprised when I say this, but I actually grew up very, very shy. And very, very introverted and very, very self-conscious. So I was the person who did not want to be called on in class, hated being the center of attention, really felt a bit like a wallflower, just because I wasn't comfortable. Um, and I recognize that as a hindrance. There's nothing wrong with being introverted. But when it holds you back from doing things that you may want to do or be or try, then it becomes a challenge. And I knew it would hold me back. So it actually influenced my choice of my first career out of school. I actually decided to do something about it, and I went into sales. And in sales, you absolutely cannot be shy, and you can't, be a wallflower, and you really need to put yourself out there and deal with the potential for rejection. And I think in doing that and putting myself out there, time and time again, I realized, like, you know what? It's not so bad. It's okay. Not everyone has to agree with you. Not everyone has to like you, and you can put yourself out there and be rejected. And the worst that can happen is you just move on. And that really, I think, helped me feel more confident in who I was and really kind of come out of my shell a little bit, and set the stage for my professional career as well.
Well, because I mean, getting into your career, and one, I think that's so smart and brave. I mean, you really confronted it head on as far as, I mean, because sales is tough. It's not for everyone, even people who maybe wouldn't consider themselves more introverted. It's just not something it's like saying, okay, be a stand-up comic, like just suddenly putting yourself on stage. So I think that that was a really smart thing to do. But it led you now to pharma and your position where you are. But it seems like, and again, I'm looking through just LinkedIn, so I'm just through my snooping and seeing you working for mostly pharma companies. So was that sales position in pharmaceuticals? And is that what sort of brought you in the pharma way? Or was that in the back of your head when you're graduating and you're thinking about what I want to do? Like, talk about that and your path to where you are.
Yeah. I wish I could say I always knew what I wanted to do and I had it mapped out from the very beginning. And honestly, anybody that does or has that ability, I'm very impressed by, because I had no idea, to be honest with you. I went to school and I studied in university economics and art history. So what do you do with that? I mean, you could do lots of things with that, but it wasn't like a very clear path. I think what I always loved was really the marriage of art and science. And that's why I chose those two majors. But, in thinking about potential careers, a career in business that really allowed me to, kind of use the analytical and the science side, but then combined with the creative side was very interesting to me. I had some family members and some friends in the pharmaceutical industry at the time, and they're like, "Why don't you look into this?" And so that was kind of the connection point. And then sales is a natural sort of starting point if you're moving into a commercial role in pharma. You carry the bag, and that's kind of your entree into the industry. And it just so happened that that fit well with kind of a challenge that I wanted to give to myself, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of really putting myself out there. So I would say it was sort of a happy accident. But in the end, I'm so happy with that accident because I've loved being in the healthcare space. And I've spent my entire career in healthcare to date, 10 years on the pharmaceutical side of the industry, largely in sales and sales leadership roles, but then also moving into marketing. And then I moved into the consumer goods space and the consumer healthcare space, which is a new set of challenges, you know, much closer to the consumer in the self-care space, but still in the healthcare space. And I really love the idea of having a career where, I can um, be successful and perform well, but also help people. Like the industry side of things is really interesting to me for that reason.
Yeah, well, and so talk, talking to someone who's just starting out, or maybe, changing careers or whatever they're doing, but they want to figure out how to get to where you are, and you started in sales, and but you mentioned that's usually the entryway. So is that maybe because you're learning about the products, and so that just gets you involved, and you need to learn everything, and then but when you go with the trajectory of what your career did, as you said, you like to bring art and science together. Did you kind of, I don't want to say create because the positions were there, but go in the directions you chose for those reasons. And so someone just starting out who maybe has similar aspirations, where do they need to start? Where do they need to, and how do they need to pursue it?
Yeah. I think the first step for anyone, whether they're interested in this industry or any other industry, is really get curious. And let that curiosity guide you to learning about the industry, different industries, learning about different functions, different types of roles that exist. Talk to as many people as you can. Use your network. Yes, even as a college student, you have a network, or even as a young 20-something, you have a network of people that you know, or your friends know, or your family knows, and really tap into that. I mean, people, I didn't realize this as much when I was younger, but I see it so much now in my willingness to help, and I know this is true for others as well. People want to help, they want to guide, they want to share, they want to connect you with people, but you just have to ask, because if you don't ask, they don't know that you are willing. Um, so that would be the first thing I would say, is just get curious and really put yourself out there to look into different things. Um, and then I would say the second thing is probably don't be afraid to take a non-traditional path. So, there are certain typical trajectories in these industries that you can do, and there's nothing wrong with that. Um, you can follow the sales and commercial path and go that route, or you can start in brand management and sort of go that route in the consumer goods space. But I think having a non-traditional or non-linear path has a lot of advantages and a lot of value in terms of just making you a very well-rounded candidate, a well-rounded employee, somebody who has the ability to look at problems from a lot of different perspectives and really call on experiences from their past in different functions or even in different industries that could apply in that case to help solve that problem. So, in my case, I've had a lot of commercial roles, but a lot of different types of commercial roles: sales, M&A, business development, RX to OTC switch, brand marketing. And I think all of those have contributed to my success, because they allow me to kind of understand different perspectives and bring those to the task at hand.
Well, I'm curious, do you take that into account? So you're hiring people, I'm sure, all the time. You're looking for people. Now, a lot of times you hear people saying because they don't fit that cookie cutter resume, then they don't get the job. Like they won't even get looked at, even though they may have all the skill sets or even better skill sets. As to your point, you've been doing it somewhere else. You're taking that knowledge instead of everyone having the same mindset that everyone else has. Do you keep that in mind? So someone coming to you that you're looking to hire, is that part of what you look at? And do you think enough people do that?
That's a great question. And I think, you need to get in the door first, right? So you have to set yourself up as a candidate, so that you'll get noticed. And that could be through your network and making sure that you have a way to sort of stand out by connecting you with the right people. Or it could be through your regular, application as a candidate. And if you have a non-traditional path, ensuring that you're coming through as putting your sort of skills first, and that is transferable. So for me personally, I definitely um do look at that. I mean, there are certain sort of like hard skills that are required for certain roles on this job that some prior experiences maybe are not conducive to. So I wouldn't say it's a blanket statement of, I'll look at everybody. But certainly very open to those non-traditional roles where I see a lot of crossover. And I think we need to be more that way overall, as hiring managers, because I think we might miss out on a lot of great candidates and great applicants as a result.
Yep. And you get different mindsets, like, you as a marketer, especially, you need to tap into so many different personalities and people. And if everyone's, as I said earlier, cookie cutter, you're maybe not expanding where you need to be.
Exactly right. Totally agree.
Okay, well, I have to say, and I am surprised when you talked about, being shy and all of that. And I think people would be surprised because when you did the presentation, we had a little technical difficulty, but You like completely stayed composed, no, flustering, whatever. We were just chatting while you know what I mean? Like, okay, whatever. Yeah, we'll do this. All right, now we're back on track. Okay. Like there was no hiccup. There was nothing. And that's not always the case. Sometimes when things go wrong, especially when someone's on stage, it really disrupts the flow. Didn't happen with you. So what does fluster you? When you're good, we know we can't, get you. What would have happened, maybe not on stage, but we're in a situation that you are flustered and maybe take a step back or don't, kind of have to catch yourself.
Yeah, it's so funny. I often get that feedback that I'm always, very calm, cool, and collected, and it must be how you know, I'm able to manage my reactions, but I don't always feel that way inside, to be honest with you. So, sometimes it's just, a fake it till you make it appearance, right? But in that particular setting that you reference, and since we're talking about the forum, I do think it helps, like, that forum is a very sort of small, intimate gathering. A lot of people are peers, and it's a sort of a non-judgmental environment. So it helped in just the comfort level. But I think overall, um, I really appreciate a sense of like harmony and balance. And that might mean like aesthetically, right? Like if a picture is askew, it really bothers me, or something's like not level, or kind of imbalance, like creatively when we're looking at things. But also in terms of kind of the working relationships, interpersonal dynamics, projects. Um, I really strive not to shy away from conflict, but ensure that we're striving for alignment.
Mhm.
Because I don't think we can be at our best selves when we're constantly swirling, and um, there's a lot of churn. It's very unproductive, and that does kind of, I think, fluster me, but also the organization. And so it's my goal in those types of situations to really ensure that um, we're kind of surfacing whatever the tension is and ensure that we're working together to reach balance. It may not be, a consensus. Everybody's not going to be happy all of the time, but at least everything's on the table and we can all kind of hold hands on the direction that we're moving. That's really for me um what I strive for in those situations.
I'm curious how you do that. I mean, as a leader, and you need to motivate your team, you need to keep that harmony, but you have all these different personalities, different ideas. Not every idea is right. So, what works for you to keep that alignment?
Yeah. And you mentioned team motivation, and I think they're directly connected, right? Um, I think in both situations, in terms of driving towards alignment and motivating the team, it really is related to first having a clear direction. Like as a team lead, people need to understand where we're going. And we need to have clear and common objectives and things that we are collectively working towards and marching towards. And so in cases of misalignment, for example, I think it's always good to take a step back and say, like, do we want the same things at the end? And usually, yes. Usually the answer is like, yes, we all want the business to succeed. We all want this project to go well. Um, what we all want to be personally successful, whatever it is. There might be different ways to get there, but kind of anchoring on a common goal or a common objective, I think is the first step and absolutely critical. Um, and then I think it's about kind of understanding the individual motivations of the team. So, for example, oftentimes if you have a big, hairy, audacious goal and everybody is marching towards this, and things can get very intense and the workload is high. It's really important to ensure that the team feels supported and appreciated during that kind of sprint or push or whatever it is. And that looks different to different people. Like, some people want to be recognized publicly, right? Some people want to kind of, you know, ensure that they're always learning and growing, but it's less about kind of the acknowledgement externally. Some people have an ambition to get to the next level. So I think it's ensuring that, um, you know, people's individual needs and motivations are taken into account, and that it's not a one size fits all approach.
Yeah, no, I mean, and know your people, as you said, like it's just like ultimately a good leader needs to know his or her people
Yeah.
and kind of follow suit with that. So yeah, that totally makes sense. And they feel appreciated when they're
Yes.
heard.
That is so critical. Honestly, I worked for a leader in the past who always talked about creating a culture of recognition, and that really stuck with me because that at the end of the day is so meaningful to people. And again, the recognition can come in different forms and it means different things to different people, but letting people know they're valued, they're appreciated, they're supported, you want them here and you appreciate the work that they're doing, I think is absolutely essential.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, so we're going to go back to Allegra. We heard a lot about from you, Allegra Airways, which I think is the coolest thing. I really do. For if you don't know what it is, it's basically an app that you look at it and it tells you, and I know you know what it is, Jordana. I'm telling anyone watching, it tells you where the pollen is or where the pollution is. So if you're going out for a run or a bike ride or even just a walk or whatever it may be, you have allergies, you want to avoid those areas, you look at this app and it will tell you where to avoid and which way to go, which I think is so cool. So given that we have that technology, but it's not about pollen and air pollution, what is it that you would want that app to tell you to avoid so you will not run across?
That's such a good question. Well, I'll give you like a very personal answer and then a more like business oriented answer. Um, so I'm very lucky to not be a regular sufferer of seasonal allergies or indoor allergies, but what I am allergic to is mosquito bites. I just my body doesn't like them, and they love me, apparently. And so I would love a tool that allowed me to kind of navigate around them in some way or have better management strategies for avoiding them.
I can see
It's
you walking. Whoop, okay.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And yes, bug spray is my friend, but you don't always want to do it. So,
No, I'm the
um,
but
all
all right,
right.
what is that one?
So that's the personal one, but I would say professionally, I think you know, avoiding negativity would be what I would say. Um, and I don't mean that in the context of like avoiding challenge or avoiding problems, but I think it's avoiding a scenario where we're only problem focused and not solution focused. I try to, really instill this and live by this. And I think I'm a very like positive sort of solutions oriented person. That like it's okay to voice a concern. It's okay to challenge something or question something, but then always bring so how can we, or an alternative, or I think maybe we should try this instead because of XYZ. So turning a negative into a positive, I think is super, it's an important skill, and something I really value, and would try to avoid sort of negativity without the positive solutions orientation that would follow.
I can think of different pathways that would be telling go away, don't go, not here. All right, now reverse it. Since I can tell you are a much more positive person. Um, where would you want the map to show you to go? Like
Hmm.
what would on that path?
Yeah, I think taking it back to maybe our first topic, would be kind of new experiences, and opening the doors to learning and continuous growth. I think that would be what I strive for and what would be very cool is just a tool that could enable um, one's ability to constantly seek out new experiences and new facts and new cultures and new experiences. I love travel in general. It's, um, something I'm trying to instill in my children and my family as well. And they've caught the bug. But I think that has also played into my career choices as well in terms of my um, desire to take on global experiences and work with teams in other markets and on businesses around the world is kind of this hunger for new learning and experiences and growth. So I don't know that an app for that will ever exist, but I think that that would be what I would
You kind of created your own. You're
do.
on your own, so it's there a little bit.
There
At
you
least,
go. The idea is there.
all right, I have to ask, what's your guilty pleasure?
Oh my God, it's so embarrassing. Um, Although I think it's probably very common. I would have to say reality TV, and probably true crime podcasts. I know these are two very common things, so I know I'm going to be in good company saying this, but yeah, reality TV, I mean, it's just pure entertainment value. It doesn't require a lot of thinking. It's something that, you know, at the end of a long day and you've been using your brain intensively to, tackle a lot of challenges, it just helps to be able to really turn that off, and just engage in something for pure entertainment value. So I love all the housewife shows, all the dating shows.
I say, what are we watching? Are we watching the Housewives? Are we watching the game, the ones like the what is it, races? Like where it's more of a challenge going on. Like,
I got to get back into those, like Amazing Race and Survivor, but I love it. Now it's like Housewives, um, all the Netflix dating shows, like Love is Blind and all of those. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the names of those things, but it's low stakes and it's kind of like no stress. And then true crime podcasts. I know it's kind of the opposite because it's definitely intense, but I don't know why, it's such a cultural phenomenon. I'm sure there's been a lot of research on this, but I guess for me personally, it's because it's interesting to think about people's motivations, like to do some of these things. I won't go into any sort of specifics, but like it's just mind-boggling and it's just like fascinating. 'Cause you're like, wow.
yeah, no, and it's the unraveling of the puzzle, kind
Yes.
of thing. I think is
Yeah.
personally, I love puzzles and I love crime, not crime, crime on a daily basis, crime dramas. So crime podcast kind of thing. So yeah, no, I can see that. Okay, so one last question. What's a talent or maybe an inconsequential kind of thing that you do or have that maybe no one else really knows about?
Oh, interesting. Well, I will say COVID has really been a game changer in terms of work-life balance for me. Over the last years, I think, many horrible things has come out of COVID, obviously, but silver lining is kind of the added time that it has afforded me in not commuting, in spending on my health, and also in time with my family. So, on a daily basis, I just need to make sure that I'm always getting outside and I go for my 2-mile walk every day. And that's not a consequential thing, but it really keeps me grounded and I think gets me in a better headspace. Um, but I'm with my kids, I love doing Legos. Uh, Probably goes back to the like arts and sciences chat from earlier, but like I love building things. That's my favorite activity to do with the kids. And I even sometimes do like adult Lego sets, which I know sounds like really dorky. But I love it. I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's very relaxing. It kind of engages a different part of my brain. And I think most people probably wouldn't know that about me.
Now, I wouldn't have gone there. So on that note, I'll call it a day.
Okay. All right.
Donna, thank you so much. I really appreciate you doing this. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It was a lovely opportunity, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
I do too. And thank you for watching. And as I always say, if you know someone that you want to hear more about, find out their story, please let me know and I will do my best to get her. So thanks for watching. And again, thanks, Jordana.